Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Brian Splitt, Tommy Grisafi joining us to talk marketing roundtables. Last weekend on the show, we had a lot to digest. We just had grain stocks. We had a look at acreage. We also had the derecho that hit the Midwest. But the analysts last week calling that report a game changer for soybeans. Brian, are prices still acting that way?
We've seen a little bit of a pullback off of the highs, and I still think it's worth really considering managing risk here. We still have adequate global supplies of soybeans, and I think based on the weather that we've dealt with in May, June, and looking ahead into July, to me, the bean crop has maybe a higher potential of reaching trend or above trend yields compared to corn. I think it's pretty well solidified that the corn crop is not going to attain a trend line yield. Most of the estimates I'm hearing are in the low to mid 170s, maybe 172 to 174 bushels per acre on corn. But I think soybeans still have that potential to reach trend or higher.
Well, and we'll get into what we should watch in that upcoming USDA report next week. But right now, is the focus still weather, Tommy? I mean, we've seen some rains, but rains miss other areas of the Corn Belt.
It's never going to be perfect everywhere. What's interesting about this year is the fringe acres, everywhere but the I states, are actually doing very well. Kentucky, Tennessee, up in the Dakotas, there's pockets of trouble everywhere. And I can't remember a year where everything was perfect. And I can't remember a year where everything was just like some other analog year. I know everyone's trying to compare this to 2012. How about we just compare it to 2023? That's what year it is. The world's a different place than it was in 2012. The interest rates are a different place than they were in 2012. Allegedly, these hybrids are just amazing. So give them a chance, right? Let's see if we were going to stress the crop out, let's see if these rains could help them. I don't doubt that we're not at that corn yield. And this is the time of year where people really focus on trying to be a predictor of what the yield is. And we're forgetting by far the most important part. Do we have someone to sell it to? Who are we going to sell? Whether we're 178 yield, 171 yield, do we have someone to sell it to? You can see by the price action in the cattle that there's not a lot of cattle out there. The hog industry's been rocked. We'll see how demand is there. Keep an eye on China. If there was one surprise to come, looks like China's having adverse weather. If China came in to buy corn, that might be what takes us back to that 550, 575 level time.
Well, Tommy hit on several things, Brian, but as we head into the report next week, a lot of questions on will USDA adjust their yield forecast? And then is there anything on the demand side that we may see as far as revisions go?
Yeah, so Tommy had mentioned 2012, and I think the real analog comparison is 2013. And so interestingly, we did go a little bit higher this year compared to where we did in 2013. We had about 3 days of extra buying past the highs that were made in the March quarterly stocks and planting intentions report that took us up close to $6.30 a bushel. But when you look at what we've done since then, we've actually caught right back up to what we were doing in 2013. And July 5th of 2013, Dees corn made a low of 490 just to rally up to about 528 into the July WASDE report. And I think you're going to see something similar as we approach that report. We're seeing some buying coming out of the 4th of July holiday. And I think the thought is that you're going to see the USDA reduce yield from the trend and acknowledge the poor growing conditions that we've had. And things have improved a little bit with some of the recent rain. But I think you're likely to see the USDA bring yield down potentially because of the extra acres we got on that report. 176.8 is the yield that we could see that basically washes away those extra 2 million acres. So anything below that, and you're potentially going to see a lower carryout month to month on the WASDE report from June. Now, as far as demand goes, we still have a problem with our export book, and that's for both corn and soybeans. I know Tommy had mentioned some concerns about weather in China. If China was going to come in and do some buying, this sure seems like a good opportunity for them to do that. But I think they're probably going to continue to work their way through the safrinha crop before they come to the U.S. crop and have the ability to buy U.S. corn in the low to mid fours come fall.
Well, wheat prices have been on a roller coaster. We've seen a rebound when it comes to pork prices. We will cover it all coming up with Brian and Tommy later on U.S. Farm Report.